योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचा.
What's the vision?
One fine day we both just quit our jobs and then we just went to a teacher training course in Rishikesh. Make yoga education accessible. Because what is happening with yoga? We see Bali. Then what all nonsense is going on in yoga? That beer yoga. I was a party animal. I remember in college. Gradually some shift happened to me and I was like, I'd rather be at home and listen to some bhajans and meditate. Yoga was given in Bhagavad Gita. Paramatma और आत्मा एक हो जाए, वो ही योग है.
That sounds so perfect. Stressful world of corporate.
I had tears in my eyes. This is a foundation of someone. You know, you move on with your careers, you move on with this and that. It's a drunken monkey bitten by a scorpio, controlled by a ghost. That's how the mind is. उसने क्या कहा, उसने क्या बोला, उसने वैसे क्या किया, and all of that. It's all over the place. You have to have a strong body and a strong mind, and the whole package is there in yoga. Yogo bhavati dukkhaha. When I did that course of just 6 days, heyam dukkham anagatam. Who's the best yoga teacher?
Hi Achal, welcome to our studio. It's a pure delight to have you to talk about this ancient science of yoga, which I've been very intrigued to know. You've been an expert in yoga for last 10 years, so I think you have a lot of wisdom to share with us. But firstly, how are you feeling today?
Yes, I'm feeling great. It's an absolute honor to come meet you and talk about yoga, and on a platform where it can guide more people. And this knowledge, whenever this knowledge reaches to more and more people, it gives me absolute delight because this is the knowledge which transformed me. So I've always had this vision that the nectar that I have tasted, I want everyone else to taste it. So thank you so much for helping me accomplish my vision as well.
I think you're a sheer gift to the world to revive
everyone
this.
Is there.
Yeah.
Everyone is there to give something to this world. So everyone is a gift. But
I love your work
so
personally.
Thank you.
So firstly, I want to know your routine right now because I think all of us are struggling with having that perfect routine in life. So what do you follow?
Okay. My routine is basically I wake up around 5:30 a.m. in the morning. And once I wake up, I love slow mornings. So I can't rush. And so when I wake up in the morning, I take some time, just sit on the bed and, just sip my water really slow. And and then slowly I start the day. I have a class to take at 7 a.m. So around 6:30 a.m. after my morning chores are done, I go to my yoga institute and I take a class, a practical session for about an hour from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. And because I teach teacher training course students, so then we have a break of 5-7 minutes and then I start with the theory class. So the philosophy of yoga and all the beautiful concepts that it has. Then we talk about that. And around 9 a.m. I'm done with the class. I then take the time to do my personal sadhana. Yeah, so I do my personal sadhana at that time. I do a practice called a Sudarshan Kriya. So I do Sudarshan Kriya. I always make sure that I'm doing Kapalabhati, Sudarshan Kriya, some pranayams, before I do my breakfast. So about an hour I spend and around 10 a.m. I have my breakfast. Post that I just make sure that my house is clean. So after I have my breakfast, I just make sure, little bit I take care of the house. I take care of things at my house, the clothes, and I have 2 lovely dogs. So I play with them in the morning. And after this thing is done, then I go office around 11 a.m. I go to office at my own institute around 11 a.m. Then I have another class to take at 12 p.m.
Wow.
So 12 to 1, I take another, which is a philosophy class again. And after that, I have my lunch around 1:30 p.m. And then around 2 p.m. I have another session which is about mudras. So these Hasta Mudras are a very beautiful science. So I teach people about Hasta Mudras. And post that, the session is over, I take a small break and then I have another session, which is
My
around
God.
3:30 p.m. to around 5 p.m., which is a pregnancy yoga teacher training course that we have. So I usually sometimes lead the course and I sometimes just see, because currently we are in that phase that so I directed all these courses, but now we have teachers. So sometimes I train the teacher, sometimes I take the course myself, and sometimes I'm just an observer in these courses. So, like that. And yeah, after my course is done around 4 5 p.m., then I just stay back at office, do some more work. I go back around 5:30 p.m., and then is the time that I actually cook. So I cook
wow.
one meal. I make sure that I'm cooking at least one meal every day with my hands to feed my lovely family. And yeah, I cook once in the evening, and then we eat food, and then evening time is more socializing and taking it lightly. We do simple conversations regarding how we can move forward, some good conversations, and then the house is just full of some laughter, some music towards the evening. Yeah, and post we have our dinner, then yeah, it's just a easy time. Then I make sure that I read something before I sleep, and then I read around 9 to 10. On 10:30 I doze off.
My God, that sounds so perfect.
Yeah, there are
Like-
some imperfections some days, but yeah, more or less this is my schedule, because I've really realized the power of good sleep. I've realized that it is a superpower, and you have to have around 7 to 8 hours of good sleep every day, and I have seen the difference myself around sleep. And I have seen again what happens when you wake up late. You feel groggy and low energy the whole day.
True.
So yeah,
Also, the timings matter,
yeah,
right?
yeah, the timings matter.
The circadian
The
rhythm.
circadian rhythm, definitely. Though circadian rhythm ke bare mein we are talking right now, but Ayurveda tells about it. It's an age-old science of dinacharya, how your day should be structured. What are the activities that you should be doing morning, afternoon, and evening? What kind of food you should be having morning, afternoon, and evening. So yeah, also a student of Ayurveda and studying Ayurvedic nutrition for a long time now. So that intrigues me, and that just makes. Then I just make sure, because I've studied mudras and Ayurvedic nutrition and yoga for sure, and I've not just studied it; I've lived it. So when I went to the ashrams, and when I was not just studying yoga from books or videos, when I stayed and did I did my teacher's training living in the ashrams, and I myself felt the power of that routine, and I
Right.
lived that yogic lifestyle. So that was very helpful.
That
I
brings
think.
me to your journey.
Yeah.
If you can go a few years back,
Yes.
right from your childhood, tell us about your connection to yoga. What was that first moment?
Actually, I'll tell you, it was around college. I think it was my first year. So in my first year, I was hearing a lot of my friends talk about one of my friends who had transformed, and he had lost weight, and he had become, all the face is glowing. He's lost weight and he's become so much more energetic. I was hearing about this man, and then I was very curious to know, because he was a good friend, a friend and friend of friend. So he was a good friend. So I was like, how come this transformation happened in him? What changed? And then I got to know through someone that he had done the Art of Living course.
Okay.
So he had
and
done
how
a-
old were you?
I was around 21, 20.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that is 2016. Yeah, so I was young at that time. I was in just first year of my college, and I realized that okay, it's Art of Living, and then I just skipped that thought. And one fine morning, I was just reading the newspaper before going to college, and I thought, and I saw that beautiful poster of the Art of Living Happiness program, and that clicked again. That this was a course who transformed Himanshu, who's now my husband.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and this is the course which transformed him. So maybe I should also try this. And then, yeah, I then asked them what is the fee. It was 2,500 rupees, and that's the exact amount of savings I had at that time being a college student. And then there was no question about it at all. Then I just enrolled for the course, and it was the first time actually in my life that someone was talking to me about my breath, about my emotions, about my energy levels, about time management, or about how I need to carry myself, about confidence. And I was just wondering, I've gone to, so many years of schooling, and I'm in almost in college. No one talks about these things. How do I actually handle my own emotions? How am I supposed to act when I'm feeling absolutely sad and I'm very upset and I'm very feeling very, very angry about something or someone? How do I manage my own emotions? Because they sometimes come in my work. And no one was talking about it. So that was that one course which was the starting of real yoga in my life. So in
But
that
were you
course,
facing
yeah.
a pain point at that time
I
that you were
honestly,
seeking for
no,
something?
I
No.
wasn't. Yeah, touch wood. But I see people come to yoga because of some pain points, but that was out of sheer curiosity. I was just very curious to understand and learn how I could upgrade myself, how I could improve myself, how I could lead a better life. So it was just out of sheer curiosity. What do they teach? And I just went to that course with a absolute empty mind, and with my student cap on, that whatever they teach, I'm going to be all ears. And when I did that course of just 6 days, I had tears in my eyes after completing that, because honestly it was life transforming for me. And in that one course I realized that this was the foundation. This is a foundation of someone. You move on with your careers, you move on with this and that, but your body and your mind and your breath and your intellect, these are basic foundations on which we can build a 1,000-story building. But once the foundations are good, my lifestyle, my food, when my habits are good, then I can go on, I can go
the
ahead in life. Yeah,
basics.
the basics are clear, and especially with the mind, how to tackle the monkey mind when those basics are clear. So in that course, I learned about a lot of breathing. I learned a very beautiful and very powerful breathing technique, which is the Sudarshan Kriya.
Yeah.
So I
very
started
popular.
practicing that Sudarshan Kriya. I started living that knowledge. And just I never had put any effort in leaving my bad habits. So a lot of people told me, "Oh, you were a teetotaler since 10 years, and you don't even eat non-vegetarian. यार, you तो Punjabi है, तू कैसे नहीं खाती non-veg food?" And I'm like, मैंने खाया है. I have had it all my life. But just when I started doing my practices, when I started waking up early and doing my yoga sadhana and the breathing practices, automatically just this shift started coming in me, that I just was like that maybe I do not want to have it today.
Yeah.
And maybe
think
I
the
would like
pure
to
of-
skip
yeah.
this party. Yeah.
Your body starts repelling it.
Yeah. Even before it started repelling, I think that feeling that I want to do it, that only, just was now not, I was just now enjoying, because I was a party animal. I remember in college, and even in 11th standard, 12th standard, being in Delhi, that kind of atmosphere is there. Everyone wants to party and dance and everything, and I used to do that. And then gradually some shift happened to me, and I was like, I'd rather be at home and listen to some bhajans and meditate.
I wonder what your friends were thinking.
Yeah, my friends were like, what is wrong with her?
Are you becoming a sannyasi?
Yeah. But it wasn't like I did not go there. Even if I went there, I went there very less. And even if I went there, absolutely, I did not eat or drink all those kind of things, because I started to respect my body. I started to respect my time. So yeah, it was a very effortless journey. I mean, people talk to me how to leave alcohol and how to leave cigarettes. I am actually, I can't tell them, because it has happened so beautifully and effortlessly for me, that I just tell them that before you want to leave something, you just start something positive. Don't focus on leaving something. I want to skip that, I want to leave this, I want to do that. Just start exercising, or maybe doing some yoga asanas, or maybe doing some yoga practices, some breathing practices, some walking or running, or whatever suits your, whatever floats your boat. Just do it, and then automatically that feeling comes, okay, that I'll skip that and all of that.
I think something better replaces that need for you. Wow, that's so beautiful.
Yeah, and then after this course, then there was no looking back. After I had experienced that nectar, and I wanted more and more of it. And then, in 1 year, and after that, I went to Rishikesh for a 4-day program, which was called DSN at that time. They say don't say no, or Divya Samaj Ka Nirman. It's a program of the art of living which awakens a tiger in you. So it's like they have very beautiful flavors. They have one advanced meditation program which like calms and settles you down, and one is like DSN, which is like, come on, stand and roar. It's your time
Be
to
a
roar.
warrior.
Be a warrior kind of a course. And then again, it transformed me in a very beautiful way. I had just all tears sitting on the banks of Ganga. I still remember bhajans are going on and my eyes are not just stopping. It was a very beautiful experience. And then there was no stopping. I did many courses with the art of living. And then that's how my yoga journey started basically. And then I even started working. After my college was over, I was placed in Delhi.
In a corporate?
In a corporate world, in corporate sales in Gurgaon, Golf Course Road. I was working in Delhi, and it wasn't like the job was bad or anything, but I just realized I was a little out of place. And maybe, when I wanted to learn more about yoga, about nutrition, about health, and about healing sciences. And then, Himanshu was that time with me, and we both decided that maybe we should now follow our passion.
Wow.
So on one fine day, we both just quit our jobs, and then we just went to a teacher training course in Rishikesh.
How old were you?
I was, 2018.
Okay.
So I was around 21 years old. Oh, wait, I am, I have to calculate. But yeah, I was in 2018. I was 22 years old.
Okay.
22, 23 years old.
When
And
you decided to
when
quit.
I decided to quit, after some time of my working. And it wasn't there in my mind that I want to become now a yoga teacher. It was just a career break for me. So I went on a career break that, I was just going to go to Rishikesh, and, we both decided, let's just leave our jobs and let us just go to Rishikesh. There's beautiful teacher training courses happening, and let's also yogify ourselves. And then it'll give us, the
Some
sanity
direction.
and direction to go forward and some direction moving forward with our careers. And that course was it. It was just after this course that, we were doing all yoga teaching practices, and, that just lit up the yoga teacher in me. And I was like, okay, maybe we can go ahead, because we were completely transformed. It was a beautiful journey. And a lot of people were there, but I personally felt that I was transformed and I learned so much from this course, and I just wanted to give it back to the people. So I just had this one thing in my mind that I want to teach this beautiful science, which has now changed me 180 degrees. And I just want to teach that. And that's how it all started with Himanshu, and I just started
Wow.
teaching. Yeah.
And when did you co-found this institute?
This was back in this was in 2020 in Corona. In lockdown,
Which is 2 years after. Okay.
2 years after we were professionally working. In 2018 we professionally started working in the field of yoga, and in 2020 it was the time of lockdown. We just got married and we were in that lockdown, and we were just thinking that we are now, right now, that time we were collaborating with many people about how we want to go ahead in the field of yoga. But then we thought that we should have something of ours now, so we founded Yoga Teach. So that was our brand name for
that was the
around
first.
that was
Okay.
a brand name for around 2.5 years. And then it was just 2 years back that we renamed and rebranded as Hatha Yoga Institute.
Wow.
And then we have our own studio in Baner, and
So life is completely changed. I'm sure.
Yeah. But it was all slowly and effortlessly. It wasn't like
Forced.
it wasn't forced at all. It was all just going with the flow. Some things we were doing, some things our guru was giving us. So it was just a
Who's your guru? Shri Shri?
Shri Shri Ravi Shankar ji
Okay.
is my guru.
You follow them.
Yes, I follow.
Wow.
Because I've realized that, though I have learned from many ashrams, but I follow one spiritual this thing, I personally don't like spiritual shopping. So I have been to many ashrams and I respect all the gurus with the bottom of my heart. I have real respect for all the gurus and I love the techniques that they teach. But yes, I follow the path of the art of living and I follow my Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar ji, because that in the end gives me that peace and that calm and then that direction.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful journey. And
Yeah.
I think I want to also congratulate you to start something
Yes.
so beautiful, because it's the need of the hour today,
Yes.
right? I mean, yoga has been founded in India, but it's fading off.
Yes.
And you guys are kind of
Yes.
facilitating it
Hmm.
to our, audience and the world.
Hmm.
So that's amazing. And it's
Yes.
been now, 5 years that you guys have institutionalized it.
Yeah. It was in 2018 that we started teaching yoga. The moment we graduated from our teacher training course, we came to Pune and we started teaching. And there was no stopping. After that, we kept learning, we kept teaching. We kept learning and we kept teaching. And it was in 2023 that we founded, we rebranded ourselves. But we've been teaching the teacher training courses since 2018.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Can we have that shloka that we spoke about? If you could beautifully recite it in your voice.
Actually, the whole yoga that we are teaching, we are doing, it is all because of Maharishi Patanjali, that he compiled it very beautifully. So yoga was again losing its its individuality, because a little bit of the way yoga was given in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, out of the 700 shlokas, around 70 shlokas are having the word yoga in it, and Upanishads talk about yoga, and there are a lot of other texts, Hatha Pradipika, Ghiran Samhita, which have yoga, but I'll rephrase it. So we have many texts which talk about yoga. For example, the Upanishads, the Vedas, and the Bhagavad Gita, but none of it talks about it entirely and completely. So Maharishi Patanjali did a very beautiful job of actually giving it a whole individuality, giving it a structure, and making the subject absolutely, it's a sutras. So he gave around 195 sutras, which are cherished even now by each and every yogi, each and every yoga teacher. There are beautiful sutras that he gave, the Patanjali Yoga Sutras.
So there's a scripture called Yoga Sutra.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a scripture called the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, which is the foundation of yoga teaching, which is a foundation for a yogi. So it is almost every yoga teacher training course, we talk about the Patanjali Yoga Sutras and how beautiful they are. And yeah, it is just these Patanjali Yoga Sutras jab aaye. So, there was
Which year was this? Like
it
the
was
scripture, if
no,
you know.
So it was a classical era. I'm not sure with the year, but it was the classical era. I'll have to go back, but thousands of years back. Thousands of years for sure. And so there was a king who again did yoga, and his life was transformed because of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. So King Bhartruhari wrote this prayer for Maharishi Patanjali. So he's like that, he was astonished and he was transformed with this science, and he dedicated a prayer to Maharishi Patanjali. Yeah, so I'll chant it. योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचा मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोतं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि आबाहुपुरुषाकारम् शङ्खचक्रासिधारिणं सहस्रशिरसं श्वेतं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिं हरिः ओम्.
Wow, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
What a vibe. Could you also enlighten us with the meaning of it?
Yeah, so it says that I bow down to this Maharishi Patanjali, who's given yoga for the chitta, yoga for the mind, grammar for the speech, and Ayurveda, it's the science of healing for the body. So I bow down to such an amazing Guru, Maharishi Patanjali. The second part of the shloka says, Abahu Purushakaram, whose half body is like a man and half body is like a snake. Shankha Chakrasi Dharanam. So, who has a Shankha in one hand and a Chakra in the other hand. And the Chakra and Shankha. Sahasra Shirasam Shwetam. He has protection of 1,000-headed snakes over him because he's said to be an avatar of Vishnuji. And Pranamami Patanjali. So, I bow down to
Wow.
Maharishi Patanjali.
That's such a beautiful shloka.
Yeah, so it was said that Maharishi Patanjali was himself an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva had told Lord Vishnu to go to earth and take a human life and give everyone the knowledge of yoga and Ayurveda and phonetics, grammar was required for language. So all of these 3 texts are given by Maharishi Patanjali. The most famous of it is the Yoga Sutras.
Which are the
Yeah.
other 2, if you know?
The other 2 things, other 2 things was he wrote about the language phonetics.
Okay.
There was a text, I think it's called as the Patanjali Karika, in which he talks about
The speech.
the speech aspect of it. And then it is said that he had contributions in Ayurveda also, though I'm not sure with the name of the text. But he had contributions. He had written some texts on Ayurveda also.
Let's talk about this amazing institute. What all happens there? What was the thought and what's the vision?
Yeah, so the vision is to make yoga education accessible, easy and fun. We see
I like
a lot
fun.
of
Because people think it's very serious.
yeah,
usually.
people think it's very serious, and now it's all going to be boring and serious. We try and make it fun, easily relatable, and yoga wisdom has been there for 10,000 years, but you can't follow the same things in this time. So how to make it applicable
Modernized.
and modernized आज के time के हिसाब से. So I think that's what Hatha Yoga Institute does, to make authentic knowledge little modernized, little user friendly, and so that we can educate people about the authentic science of yoga. Because what is happening with yoga, we see Bali and we see sometimes I'd not name institutes, but I've seen places in Bali, I've seen places in Thailand that
Even
have
US.
absolutely forgot the essence of yoga and they've made it a workout.
It's a
They've
mockery, actually.
It's a mockery, and then what all nonsense is going on in yoga, that beer yoga, and a lot of things are going on. So we just always try to bring out the authentic, age-old, time-tested principles back to people in the most authentic manner, which can be used in today's time.
I love that.
With the modern principles but authentic knowledge.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
people have commercialized it a lot.
Yeah, even if you commercialize it, okay, at least give the right thing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And you
Yeah.
are doing that combination.
That combination. Of course, I understand people have to earn money. That's okay, but at least don't dupe people.
Yeah.
At least don't,
misguide them.
them. Don't teach them wrong things. Don't run with their money. Because when we see in this yoga, a lot of yoga people around me, and we keep hearing about this yoga institute and this yoga center and this yoga studio. People come with tears in their eyes sometimes. That
Oh.
we spent there and then we spent here and then we've still not learnt it.
It's become a
yeah.
fad, actually,
Yeah.
and a trend which people are trying to leverage upon.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think most of the teachers are probably not even qualified enough
Yeah,
to
not even qualified
give
enough.
the right guidance.
Absolutely, you're right. Not even qualified. And there is one thing which is education, and there is one thing where you've lived it. So it comes when you've lived the knowledge, when you walk the talk, and then when you teach, it is different. And when you have read 10 books and you've seen 10 videos and you've been educated formally, but you've not lived it, That makes all the difference. If I keep telling everyone meditate, meditate, and all of that, but I myself have not meditated and I've myself not transformed, then
There's no point.
there's no
It's
point.
like walk your talk.
Yeah, walk your talk. My Guruji, my Guru always says that who's the best yoga teacher? Who's a yogi himself?
Yeah,
It's as simple as that. Who's a yogi can best reflect upon the principles of yoga and can best teach them. But if you are not a yogi and if you are eating junk and you're not practicing and you are not surrendered and you are not following the yamas and niyamas, then how
And I
can
think
you
it's
teach?
very apparent now when you
Hmm.
meet a person,
Hmm.
like just the aura, like your aura and your energy speaks for
Yes.
itself,
Hmm.
that you can identify a yogi
Hmm.
just with sensing
Hmm.
the energies, like the presence, I feel itself.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Talks about it. So, yeah, I mean, that brings me to, the definition of yoga. First of all,
Hmm.
like there are multiple versions of yoga, but let's just break down the word itself, first of
Hmm.
all,
Hmm.
which is yog.
Correct,
So, if you
correct.
can.
Yeah, so that's a good question, in fact. And when I take sessions at corporates and when I take sessions in other institutes, that's my first question to everyone. Okay, everyone, what is yoga? So, and then people are like, it's a form of exercise. And then people are like, it's about peace and it's about standing on your head, doing inversions and all of that. So it's not wrong, but that is not the complete understanding. The very simple meaning of yoga, it comes from the word yuj, which means to unite. That's it. It means to unite. Now, what are you supposed to unite? So you are supposed to unite your body, your breath, your mind, your intellect, your memory, your ego to the self, which is your soul. And if I make it
Wow.
easy, it is
I
like
love that. I don't think
Yeah.
I've heard that kind of
yeah,
definition.
I'll repeat it.
Yeah, please do.
So it is about connecting, basically finding union between the body, breath, mind, intellect, memory, ego, and self. And if I simply say it in one line, to just have a union between body, mind, and soul.
Beautiful.
Some people also say that, yoga is just a simple science of connecting your soul with the universal soul. Simple. Paramatma और आत्मा एक हो जाए, वो ही योग है. And अब इसमें किधर आया आसन, अब इसमें किधर आया वर्कआउट, और it is a way you can achieve that. But yeah, the main understanding of yoga is to unite. And now what is the need of uniting? Body is here, breath is here, soul is also somewhere here. But the mind is very naughty. So the mind goes to the past, to the future. It goes past to the future. उसने क्या कहा, उसने क्या बोला, उसने वैसे क्या किया, and all of that. It's all over the place. So, in our scriptures, they say mind is like a drunken monkey. पिया हुआ बंदर है. Mind is like a drunken monkey. After that, it's bitten by a Scorpio.
Oh
उसको
my God.
पहले तो वो पिया हुआ बंदर है माइंड एंड देन उसको वृश्चिक ने और काट लिया है विद द पॉइजन एंड ऑल एंड इट्स कंट्रोल्ड बाय अ घोस्ट. So that's how the nature of the mind is. It's controlled. That's why we call it the monkey mind, because it's a drunken monkey bitten by a Scorpio, controlled by a ghost. That's how the mind is. So the whole science of yoga is to get the mind in the present moment and to stabilize it. That's as easy as yoga is. Just to control the chattering of the mind. That's it. They're very simple. Those are yoga. The definition of yoga as per Maharishi Patanjali is yoga chitta vritti nirodha tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam. So he says yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is just controlling the fluctuations of the mind. That's it. So that what will happen if I control the fluctuations of my mind? Then I will be able to witness my real self. Then only I will be able to see the real self. If there are so many clouds in the sky, will I be able to see the stars? Or will I be able to see the infinite sky? No, because there are so many clouds. I will just assume that I am maybe the cloud only. But yeah, yoga is simply that stopping that fluctuation and chattering of the mind. And in fact, I'll not use the word stop. I'll use the word control. Because it's very important that the mind chatters
Yeah.
in the right direction. So
yeah,
it's
the
not
other way around. It's
Yeah.
like normally the mind controls you, but with
correct.
this
Absolutely.
you control the mind.
Absolutely. Being the master of the mind and trying to control it, and so that we can connect to our real self. That's the definition of yoga. And now, if I say that yoga is maybe reaching at the hilltop, now there are many ways to reach there. There are 100 ways that you can maybe reach the top of the mountain. So that's how the philosophy of yoga comes in, that you can become a yogi by bhakti. What Mirabai did. She was not doing handstands and she was not doing Kapalabhati. She was just absolutely devoted to Lord Krishna. That is what she did. So that is bhakti yoga. And then what APJ Abdul Kalam ji did. He was not into bhakti, or he was not doing pranayamas. He was just absolutely dedicated to his work, and he was a karma yogi. So you can reach and you can get moksha or enlightened, and that's the objective of yoga, to get self-realized. And you can reach there by either bhakti or by either karma or either by gyan. Swami Vivekanand ji was a holistic yogi, but yes, he was an avid reader, and he was so curious, and he was so knowledgeable, and that is the path of Gyan Yoga, where you acquire knowledge and you finish that avidya which is there in us since the day we are born. We
Wow.
have ignorance in us. And then the path of Hatha Yoga. Where Hatha Yoga, again, people think of Hatha Yoga as, Hatha Yoga. And Hatha Yoga is like forceful, and,
some
we will
tapasya.
some
kind.
tapasya, I'll not stop. Whereas it simply is a combination of two words, ha and ta. Between ha means the sun and ta means the moon. So there is a lunar energy and there is a solar energy. There is a Ida Nadi and there is a Pingala Nadi. So there is a left brain, there is a right brain. And so is there a left nostril and a right nostril. So just to achieve that balance in the sun and moon aspect of an individual, that is Hatha Yoga, which is done with the help of Shata Karmas or detoxification practices, asanas, pranayamas, some mudras, hasta or kaya mudras, bandhas, and also meditation techniques. So this is the science of Hatha Yoga.
Wow.
Yeah,
I love the way you so simply explained it for the audience. I think
so
people complicate it,
yeah,
but I love the way, because it's so relevant, for us in our
Hmm.
practical life. But I also like the fact you said you make it fun.
Yeah.
And I'm now curious to know how do you, get that element into something which is perceived to be so serious.
Yes. See, that is the work of the teacher, I feel, to make students get interested about this topic. If a student is more curious and he's more interested after your lecture, that means the teacher has done its job. So I feel whenever I teach, maybe if it's the asana part or if it's the theory part, for example, in asana part, today only we started the class with some laughter yoga.
Oh, yeah.
In the morning. So there are some music and some musical warm-ups that I add in my class. And, it's very important, just to shake off the body before we start and we sit and we do all things. The class has to have a dynamic vibe as well as a vibe of peace and equilibrium. So I just make sure that both the vibes are there. So I just make sure that my class is going on to its peak, where I'm all, kind of pushing them out of their comfort zone. Maybe it's through music, or sometimes I take dance, and sometimes through dynamic sukshma vyayams, sthula vyayams, surya namaskars. And then I usually take it towards a more peaceful, calmer, where we are holding asanas towards that part. But yeah, the fun aspect, basically, we add music to our classes. We add some yogic games in our classes. So
That
yeah.
I've never heard of.
Yeah, so yogic games, see, what is yoga? Like, to control the mind. So if the mind comes in the present moment, then yoga is happening there and then. The mind is in the present moment. There is no past ka thought. There is no future ka thought. Mind is not in the pendulum thing. You are just in the present moment. That is yoga in that moment. So yogic games are a very, very amazing way to inculcate the beauty of presence of mind and being aware and being in the moment.
Can you give me an example? Because I'm very curious. What is a yogic game? It's such a new term.
So chalo, let's play a game.
I
Chalo.
wish.
But yeah, for example, we have some games in which the simple games like 7 Up and simple games like, there's a game in which we do Gandhiji, Nehruji, and Lalaji.
Oh,
Okay, so for example, if we just play a quick game. So this is Gandhiji because he
Okay.
was bald.
Yeah.
Do it like that, Gandhiji, and then this is Nehruji, and then this is Lalaji.
Okay.
Okay, so now now this is Gandhiji, Nehruji, and Lalaji, but I might do anything else.
Yeah.
You have to look at me
Okay.
when I say Nehruji, so you have to do this, but I might do anything else.
Okay.
So you have to be correct with the Nehruji, Lalaji, and these things.
Okay. Confusing.
Yeah,
the
so I'll
mind.
confuse you a little bit, but let's see if you could.
Okay, sure.
Let's start.
Okay.
So Gandhiji, Nehruji, Lalaji. Gandhiji, Nehruji, Lalaji. Gandhiji, Lalaji. So yeah,
That is
simple
fun. Okay,
games,
yeah.
like it's like a
Just
brain
challenging,
gym. Yeah.
brain teasers.
Brain teasers, like a brain gym, or anything which gets you in the present moment. So, when we take our people out in retreats or something, so we play dodgeball and then we play many sports, which just get you in the present moment. So, that is also a very modern way to get people in the present moment without giving them long lectures, and just instantly refreshes them, and then all are giggling and smiling and happy. And what else do we need?
I know, right?
Just happiness.
That's
That's
what
that's
we are
what everyone
seeking.
needs from within. Just happiness, pure sheer bliss. That's what everyone wants. So
Also about gymming, like
Hmm.
I've seen, I mean, it's a gymming culture today and a lot of people prefer that. But I personally feel that it somewhere disturbs the energy, with the pace it happens. We've seen so many cases, there are health issues,
Yeah,
people
yeah,
have
yeah.
got heart attacks and
Hmm.
BP issues. So if you were to compare
Hmm.
a gymming versus a yoga session,
Hmm.
what are the pros, cons? How would you
Hmm.
guide people into it?
I'll ask you a question.
Sure. You can ask me too.
Just tell me, which one would you choose? A person having a strong body but a weak mind, and a person having a very strong mind but a little weak body. Which person do you think will be able to live life happily and healthily?
Definitely the stronger mind.
The stronger mind, that's more important. I'll not say that strong body is not important, but strong mind can easily handle a weak body. Whereas a strong body with a weak mind, it cannot be handled properly. You will see so many people, I've heard some instances, gym instructors and doing suicides, and a lot of people I've seen that, body is very strong, but if the mind is weak, the whole
System
the whole
is
system is disturbed and the whole point of it is lost. What is health, in fact? Health is having health is basically having a
balance.
happy and cheerful mind along with definitely a disease free body. So first of all, I tell everyone that health, मतलब इस स्वस्थ शब्द का अर्थ ही क्या होता है? स्वस्थ means स्व and स्थ. Swasthya means that who is abiding in his own self.
Wow.
The mind who is just not 10 places.
Wandering.
Yeah, swastha. He is just
Centered.
he's so centered. That mind is centered and it's just abiding in its own self. So first of all, I tell people that absolutely no problem with gymming, but it's just not a complete solution for health. You have to have a strong body and a strong mind, and the whole package is there in yoga, where we not just focus on the strong body aspect, but yes, pranayams and meditation, they lift up your mind. They energize your whole energy system. Along with that, definitely they tone your whole body. Whereas gym is majorly focused on training the muscles and making them strong. But in this time, I will definitely say that people should do strength training, because they're sitting for a long time in offices and they are having absolutely sedentary lifestyles. And in that kind of food is also not there, that kind of air is not there. Some strength training is required, but it should not be every day. Yeah, it depends on person to person, but a little bit of strength training, maybe you can combine it with yoga. Maybe you can have, like yoga is indispensable every day, but maybe you can also have like a 30 minutes of strength training, twice a week or thrice a week. That is helpful.
So let's, now get into this stressful world of corporate. I mean, today we see there's so much stress. Employees, mental health has become such a big pain point. We listen to news today. There are suicides happening, and stress levels have gone to another level. I mean, there's politics. I think the usual things people face physically, there are, the sedentary lifestyle. I mean, they're sitting on the chair and working nonstop, and sometimes you even forget to, take
Drink
care.
water.
Yeah, water is such a basic thing, and sleep is getting affected. The fundamentals are all messed up. And then on top of that, the mental stress in terms of team behavior, there's politics, there are pressures coming from the bosses. So it's a very hard place to be. So let's, talk about how a corporate employee or even a owner, how yoga can transform their life and bring them to at least a state of balance.
So see, first let's understand what is stress. What exactly is the word stress means? Stress, so, I personally believe stress is when you have too much to do, too little time, and too little energy. Simple. Too much
Amazing.
to do.
Again, so simple.
Yeah, stress is simple. It's too much to do. In this fast-paced world, there is a lot of things that we need to do, and the time is less, and even the energy is less. So not too much to do. Maybe we can work there a little bit, but I don't think there is a scope of, doing less things, because if you go to office and you tell your boss, so boss, there are 10 things to do, I will only do 5. Your boss will say, okay, this is you are fired. We'll hire another person. So that's
Ghar pe
something.
jao.
Ghar pe jao. That's something we can't we can't do. Kuch wahan nahi kar sakte. There's no scope. There is work and we have to do it all. As a mother, you have to also look at after the house. You also have to send the kids to school. You have to also cook food. You also have to perform in your career. There are things to do. The second comes too less time. Stress is when you have too much to do, too less time. So not less time also. Again, the same 8 hours, we need to sleep, 7 to 8 hours of work. Then you have a little bit time you have to give to your kids, family. Even time is, we can't play with that as well. So the third factor is where all the magic is. It's like too less energy levels. So there, yoga is a science of increasing your prana, your energy. So once you're once you're pranified, or once you have good
Pranified, wow. Again,
pranified, yeah.
interesting term.
So once you're pranified and once you have good pranic energy, even the things that are feeling like stress to anyone else, maybe just like, what's the big deal? And then the third factor is too little energy. And in this fast-paced life, we are drained. We are doing everything without actually charging ourselves up. So there are some sources of prana. Food is a source of prana. So in this corporate, whenever I have corporate sessions, so I always tell them what is prana, the subtle life force energy, and what are some sources to energize yourself. For example, food is a source. Now again, if you're eating packaged food, if you're eating non-vegetarian food, or if you're eating dead food which is made 1 year back, and maybe you're eating that biscuit right now, or maybe you're eating that cereal right now which was made again 6 months back and processed, and that's not food, that's a product. That's just for them to make profits and not to nourish you. So yeah, stop eating all those kind of food, the biscuit and the muffin and the frozen and packaged and bottled and canned items. Okay, this is the first thing. And then the second,
we can have substitutes.
Yeah, always.
Much better.
India is a country with amazing food wisdom. When you go to dadis and nanis, they would not like to have anything packaged.
Yeah.
My nani, I remember, she doesn't even eat tomato ketchup. because she's like, no, I am good with my imli ki chutney. Yeah, so maybe some simple changes if we can do in our food that can help the people if they just simply shift from the tamasic and rajasic food to more sattvic food, which is easily digestible, cooked at home, fresh, and comes from a plant, not a plant.
Yeah.
I mean, it comes from real plant and not a plant or a manufacturing
yeah.
factory or something. It's very simple about food. And then how can they energize themselves? The second thing is breath. So it's a very, very simple thing. We are breathing many, many times every day, but how much of it are we doing it consciously? So just conscious, deep breaths can energize you in minutes. So if you can even just sit, those people, if you can just, the employees can sit on their chair and just do, 5 minutes of Nadi Shodhan Pranayam in between their work. It will just increase their prana, increase their focus, increase their concentration levels. Yeah, so simple pranayam techniques, deep breathings, and it will just change their energy game. The second is for sure the breath, and the third is a happy state of mind. Have you ever seen that, when there is a marriage at home? So maybe I've not eaten well, or maybe I'm not breathing that deeply, or maybe I've not slept well. But there's an enormous level of energy that I have because I am so happy. My sister is getting married, or it's my parents' 50th anniversary. So happy state of mind recharges you. So just simple. And how can I maintain that? So also I'll before I go to the fourth one, I'll also tell you what is what is the first source of prana? It is food. And food and water in the same category, very important to hydrate ourselves. Second category, I talked about the breath. The third source of prana is sleep. Again, if I have 4 hours of sleep or 3 hours of sleep, everyone knows that they wake up like a zombie and they're feeling all groggy, cranky. Yeah, so sleep is indispensable. But again, it is very important to understand, if I eat too much, I have low energy. If I eat too less, I have low energy. So eating at the right amount. If I sleep too much, sleep is very good. It's a source of prana. Let me sleep for 10, 12 hours. Again, it will deprive me of prana. And if I sleep 3 hours, 4 hours, I will have low energy. So it's very important to do these things in balance. And last, not the least, is, which I was talking about, a happy state of mind. Like we discussed that when the mind is happy, food, sleep, breath, we are just happy. So now how to maintain a happy state of mind?
Yeah,
that becomes a
most
question.
important.
That becomes a question. And then for that only I tell people the breath. It's not very complicated. If the mind is like a kite, जो उसकी डोर होती है वो breath होती है. So with the breath I can control the mind. With that thread I can control the kite. So that's how the mind can be controlled. Because mind, like we discussed, is like a drunken monkey bitten by a scorpion. I cannot control it directly, or if I can, maybe at some higher levels of consciousness when I've been meditating for a long time. But yeah, for now we need to control our mind through breath indirectly. And simple breathing techniques can be done in office. I'm just doing 10 deep breaths, or maybe I'm just doing a little bit of Kapalabhati, which is again a detoxification practice, but it energizes you. I'm doing some Nadi Shodhan. I'm doing some little humming before sleeping. Simple activities like this can elevate their prana and make them feel more energetic. So once you see, if a person is more energetic, then there will be lesser doubts in life. Lesser doubts, lesser complaints, lesser problems, I'd say. And if the prana is very less, then there is a lot of doubt, lot of what should I do? Where should I go? Oh, she said this to me. Oh, now what I'll do? Okay, so
Always
when your prana
state.
is less, then there's a lot of confusion and then you also tend to do negative thinking. Automatically it happens. So I don't tell people कि अरे positive सोचो. I simply tell them one thing. I don't tell them कि positive सोचो. इसने ऐसा बोल दिया तो क्या हुआ? I simply tell them प्राणायाम कर रहे हो. Simple. Once your prana is high, you automatically tend to take those things in a lighter note and you move on. So that doesn't
So-
become a very big deal. It is not a big challenge or a big problem. When your prana is high, you take it as a challenge. अरे ये तो मैं ऐसे ही कर लूंगा. क्या बड़ी बात हो गई
And
इसमें?
it's just 30 minutes
हाँ.
of your day.
हाँ, mother-in-law
can-
ने कुछ बोल दिया. If prana is low, then I will overthink about it.
Sulking.
Sulk about it, overthink about it. ये ऐसे कैसे किसी ने बोल दिया? And when my prana is high, you know, कितना अच्छा उन्होंने बोल दिया यार, तो मैंने सोचा ही नहीं था. I can improve on that,
Yeah.
definitely. Thank you, mom, that you told me about this, and I will definitely work on this. Thank you so much. This is
True.
what high prana does to you. So I'll recommend.
I think it cleanses your thoughts.
Yeah,
and-
it just directs them automatically into more positive ones, more less painful thoughts come to your mind, and happy thoughts come to your mind. It's not just happy, it's just basically you think in the right direction. It could be happy or unhappy, but you think in the right direction. So to all the corporate employees, I'll just say that, you know, simply increase your prana levels. Automatically that stress and anxiety will go away. You know, what are the problems we are having in corporate? Number one, backache.
Oh yeah.
Lots and
It's
lots of
most
backache,
common.
lots and lots of stiffness. Of course, some simple sukshma vyayam, some simple asanas have the power to completely make you feel more lighter in your body and make you feel more mobile and lessen your pains and aches in the whole body. Now, what are the other problems? Too much of stress, too much of anxiety, for which definitely we can do some pranayamas. Maybe we can just take a break on our seat and, you know, play a guided meditation. Simple as that. You do 5 minutes of pranayam, you play 10 minutes of guided meditation. You take a 15-minute break, which will recharge you, you know.
For the rest of the day.
Yeah, instead of
It's
going
like a
out
new
for
day.
a coffee or a tea or a sutta, you just do these 10-15 minutes and you will see the real energy which lasts longer without harming your body.
Wow. That's a very good tip.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anchal. But let's say if I'm a corporate and I want to start this for my team, and you guys facilitate it. So what is the process again for me to kind of get you on board and
Yeah,
Yes.
nothing. If you have a good intention for your employees, we will be happy to come to your office and we would be elated to give you a 1-hour yoga session. Maybe we can talk about stress management as well after that. The process is very simple. The most important thing is that intention to give something really worthy to all your employees and not just having a tick mark. Okay, yoga day tha, the session is done. But if you really care for your people and if you really want them to become more productive and more happy, and simply if you want them to be happy, happy people are productive.
yeah.
Yeah, so
It's
if
a
you want
no-brainer.
to make them productive, you make them happy. And real happiness lies in health. So when you make them do yoga practices, definitely.
So one session would be good enough.
Of
What
course.
is the ideal?
Not one session is an introductory session, but an ideal if you know they can have corporate yoga maybe 2 to 3 times a week for their employees, or if they cannot afford to have so many times, maybe at least once a week. So it keeps reaffirming their faith and their understanding of what yoga is, and then when they feel the benefits of it, they start doing it more regularly.
Right.
So,
So are there
definitely.
some studies or you've come across wherein, you know, yoga has directly impacted the mental health and
Yeah,
the
yeah,
numbers, the revenues?
Yeah, so
Because,
I'm a little bad with remembering the studies and the names of those scientists and all. But if you simple Google, you will get hundreds of studies by Harvard and by Oxford and by all the good universities, whichever research centers you want. Simply type yoga studies and you will get so many studies, because yoga is not a faith. It is not simply, you know, if I have faith in it, it will happen to me. It is a science. It is a mere science, and definitely it has proven itself, and that is why it started 10,000 years back and it continues to grow at a pace like nothing else.
always
So-
stay relevant.
yeah, so it is only something which is really important, and it's something which is really, it has the power to transform someone, can, you know, continue for such a long time. Otherwise, fads come and fads go.
Yeah. I
Simple
think
things
this is
come
to
and
stay.
then they go. This is to stay, and this is the actual science which can transform a person holistically. If you have any kind of problem, so one definition of yoga is yogo bhavati dukkhaha. Yoga, it's from Bhagavad Gita. So in Bhagavad Gita में बोलते हैं yogo bhavati dukkhaha. Any kind of misery, yoga will destroy it.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
very powerful.
It's a very simple statement. Yoga destroys all kinds of miseries. If it is an emotional problem, if it's a physical problem, if it's a mental problem, yoga can destroy it. It's as simple as that. That's what Bhagavad Gita says.
So, I mean, you have worked, with some amazing companies like Amazon and HCL. And do you remember any feedbacks, which stayed with you, wherein they've spoken on the direct impact of getting yoga for the team and the organization?
Yeah, I think many workshops we've taken on International Day of Yoga and otherwise also, people come to us, with a face which is as smiling as a yogi, and then they come to us, ma'am, it was so good. How can we do it more often? Yeah, how can we actually, where are your classes? And then always, in fact, every heart, there is someone in every heart, they know that they need to work on themselves, especially when it comes to physical and mental well-being. So everyone knows, and it's just about someone taking the step right now and someone taking the step later. Or maybe वो बोलते हैं ना कि prevention, what do they say?
Is better than cure.
Prevention is better than cure. So either that's again another definition of yoga.
Yes.
They
Yes.
say heyam dukkham anagatam. अब उसका क्या फायदा अब काहे पछताए जब चिड़िया चुग गई खेत. It's as simple that now if you take care of your body and mind, it will reward you for years to come. So now, what happens in yoga is most people come with diseases. Now that they have a slip disc, now that they have a diabetes problem, now that they have a problem of headache, migraine and thyroid, that they come to yoga. The simple definition says, Heyam dukkham anagatam. Prevent the misery even before it arrives. What are you waiting for? Are you waiting for diseases and miseries to start entering your body and mind?
And I mean, they have given us such a beautiful tool.
Yeah, so but
is-
as
yeah.
Indians, we wait. Okay,
We
like
take it for
something
granted.
We take our health for granted. We take yoga for granted. We take our Indian gurus for granted. I see many Indian yoga teachers reading books of other people. But India is blessed with such amazing yoga teachers and gurus and enlightened masters. And it
Absolutely.
just, and we are reading books of someone who we don't even know properly or anyway.
Yeah.
But the whole
Also,
point.
any feedback from, like, say, a business owner, specifically on the growth of the company that you can remember, they've mentioned to you, with the long-term practice of.
So there was one bank, not name it, they were doing yoga sessions with us very frequently, I think thrice a week. And one day their boss calls us and he tells us that, I would like to join in. So it's like, it's been 6 months, you've not joined, now you want to join. So he just simply says that I see people are giggling more. I think that, I'm now bhi mujhe FOMO ho raha hai. That, what are they laughing about? And, that the vibe of the place has changed. And they've become more lighter and they've become more smiling. And then there's, without a reason, they are smiling and, they don't stress about things too much. And, the facial expressions, tell a lot actually, Neha. So if you go to a bank and you see people are like, just so disinterested and so robotic and so mechanic. And when there is a smile on that face, then something is happening. For sure.
Yeah.
That simple smile on that face, and that too not a fake one. I mean, that's genuine smile. And people are, just on their feet and more active. So then he decided to do yoga himself. So when he called us and he started doing yoga. But again, many people have given us great feedbacks about, how yoga has helped them cure their back pains also. A lot of problems come because people are not healthy.
Yeah, of course.
And once I'm not healthy, it's a big obstruction in my work. So and it's not just physical health, it's even mental health. If I'm always thinking about, what my kid is going through and what will happen at home, and this has happened, that has happened, if I'm a lot of it of my
I'm
mind
not
is
in the moment.
I'm not in the moment, then you will take 5 hours to do a simple 1 hour task.
True.
So yoga simply makes you more efficient. It energizes you and it makes sure that you do that 5 hour work in 3 to 1 hour.
Wow.
है ना? Yeah, so that's the productivity. Your productivity will increase, your efficiency will increase, and people think that people think that I don't have time for doing all this, and that's exactly why they should do it.
All the more.
Because it makes more time in their day. Because I don't have time means that you are maybe taking a long time to do simple tasks.
I think efficiency goes.
Yeah, you have
2x.
more time for
Yeah.
yourself. You have more time for your children, for your family. When you are doing yoga and when you're working, you understand the meaning of time management, and you make more time for people around you. And when person says, I don't have time at all for doing anything, you need yoga the most.
The most.
You need
Because
yoga
it's
the
all
most.
energy, right?
Yeah.
We need energy, like you said, in everything. And if it's taking care of that part, you can live life to the fullest in every aspect. Amazing.
Yeah. So corporates
Yeah.
definitely need to add yoga, and it's a request for anyone watching this that invest. If you're a businessman, invest in the health of your people, because people are the biggest assets.
Absolutely.
No technology, maybe technology and maybe different things, but people are the biggest assets, and we have grown because of our people. So I thank our people, and we make sure that our people are doing yoga. And we
Same
make
here.
sure- yeah.
I mean, I so relate to it as a
Yeah.
business owner that
Hmm.
your people are the assets,
Yeah.
and that's what makes you grow.
Yes,
So I think that care is so important.
Yeah,
because it directly reflects in everything.
yes,
Even the numbers. So
yes,
completely
absolutely.
agree. Also, Anchal, just for the audience, any top 5 tips that you can give for an employee just to do it through the day, while they're sitting and working? The 5 must-haves.
Yeah, I'd simply say 5 must-haves. Maybe if they're sitting in their office in that 8-hour shift that they have to do, maybe keep standing and keep walking and keep stretching. I'll not say keep stretching throughout the day, but at least once or
Yes,
twice,
yeah.
at least
Yeah.
once in the whole day, you stand up and you take 5-7 minutes with the chair. You can do simple chair yoga. So, in fact, when we go to corporates and when we teach them yoga, a lot of corporates have a space issue. They have a space constraint.
Yeah.
They do not have some of them have a good training places where we can, cafeterias or training places where we can vacate it and we can do yoga. But a lot of the corporates don't. So, we make them do chair yoga. Simple twisting, simple stretching with the help of the chair. At least 5 minutes you spend in doing some chair yoga. You can find chair yoga at our channel also. On our channel, there are some videos of chair
We'll
yoga.
link up the channel.
Yeah.
What is it called?
Hatha Yoga
Hatha
Institute.
Yoga Institute channel.
Yeah.
Guys, please have a look. They have a lot of tutorials that will
Yes.
help you.
Yes, absolutely. So there's a chair yoga sequence which you can do, which will energize you instantly. So that's number 1. And don't keep sitting the whole day. Stand up after every 1 hour or 30 minutes that you've sit. I'll not say stand, and just get some water and walk around for 2-3 minutes at least after every half an hour that you've been sitting. So don't keep sitting for a long time. Stand, walk, and then especially if you have issues with your body, with your back and all. So yeah, don't be a couch potato. Stand and be active, and even if you can even work standing. Nowadays, I
Oh,
also have
yeah,
a standing
the-
desk at
yes.
my place. So, I just stand for some time and I work. So, yeah, but that's number 2. Don't just keep sitting. Walk. Because, they say sitting is the new smoking.
Oh, yes. Yes, very
How
much.
dangerous it is for sitting for a long time. It's so dangerous for the body. So stand up, even if it is for a little bit of time. Stand, walk, get yourself some water, and then sit back again. And yeah, the third thing I would say is doing while you're working, just doing simple pranayama. Yeah, I will say a simple alternate nostril breathing where you inhale from the left nostril, exhale from the right, inhale from right, exhale from left. This is simple one round. You can have a simple mudra. This is called as Nasika mudra. You simply close your right nostril, inhale from left, then close the right, left, exhale from right. So simple alternate nostril. You continue for about 5 minutes. That will bring a big change in the way you work or in the way your things will appear more clearer to you, and it will balance the system within.
Removes the blockages.
It removes the blockages. The name exactly says that. Nadi Shodhan. Nadi means the energy channels, and Shodhan means to purify it, to remove any kind of blockages, you very rightly said. So yeah, so doing some little bit of pranayam while you're working, and I told everyone, you should stand up, and the first thing was to stretch. Maybe after every 2 hours or 3 hours of working, you stand up and you stretch. A simple movement of a neck rotation or a simple stretching, yeah. And the third and the fourth thing, I would simply tell them is eat according to your lifestyle. It's a very simple thing. I see people who are in corporates having a heavy lunch and then sitting back to work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
most, I think 99% people do this. And thankfully I've inculcated a habit of...
yeah. Because I think food is a really big part of your health. And you can do all that. You can do all the asanas, pranayams, mudras, bandhas, meditation, and you can read all the books and you can do every 10,000 steps, everything. But if you're not eating correctly, you will have diseases no matter what.
Wow.
If your food is not your medicine. So, I
Do you
tell that.
include nutrition in your session?
Yes. We have a separate course on Ayurvedic nutrition.
Wow.
And we also have nutrition, yogic nutrition, and diet for yogi, that aspect in our teacher training courses, where we tell everyone that food is medicine, or otherwise medicine will become your food.
Wow.
Yeah, so
That
food is
so
medicine.
enlightening.
Otherwise, 10 tablets, 15 tablets, 20 tablets a person. I've even seen 25 to 30 tablets a person is popping in the whole day.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's insane.
It's insane, and it's so bad for the body. I mean, so many chemicals intruding your body. So anyway, but yeah, so eat your food mindfully. If you know that you have to sit and work, maybe you eat less carbs, you eat less of roti, you eat less of rice, and I'll not say skip roti and rice, but you maybe eat less of roti and less of rice, and maybe you inculcate a little bit of more of salad and a little more of a liquid dal or something, which simply energizes you rather than, depleting your energy.
I think we should have a whole another episode on nutrition,
Yeah.
because like you said, you do everything right, but
Yeah.
if food is not right,
Yes.
it can actually go to vain,
Yes,
everything that
yes,
you're doing.
yes.
So this is such a important topic to talk about, and especially with the packaged food industry. I mean, I have myself grown into this. Now I take only ghee. I avoid oil completely. So stuff like that, and I can see so much of a difference. But nutrition is very important.
It's very, very, very important. The food you're taking, not just from your mouth, from your phones also.
The mind food.
The mind food. People are consuming all that kind of stuff, and then they say that I'm not able to concentrate because of the things we are consuming,
Garbage.
the garbage we are taking, the books also we are reading. That's some books are also garbage, and some videos and the content that's looking online. So much of that. But yeah, for corporates, I'll specifically say eat according to your lifestyle and eat according to your activity levels. A very simple thing which I see, if you have to go out and work, then eat your paranthas, because you have to work and you need energy. But if you know that after lunch I have to sit back and work on the desk for 2-3 hours, eat mindfully.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I think that these are 4. And I think last not the least, yeah, I would just lastly, I'll say that, maybe you add 5 minutes of doing nothing. in between your activities. One thing, then next,
It's just
then
so
next.
difficult.
Just so difficult. One thing you've completed, then other, then so many deadlines and so much of pressure. 5 minutes, close your eyes, do nothing.
As good as
Absolutely.
meditating.
That is meditation. Meditation is the art of doing nothing. It's the art of wanting nothing. It's the art of being nothing in that present moment. You don't want anything for the 5 minutes. You don't want to listen anything. You don't want to taste anything. You don't want to see anything. You are just good as you are. And for just 5 minutes, you are not focused on doing something. We are doing something the whole day. Or right now we are talking, we are listening, we are writing, we are typing, we are thinking. 5 minutes, absolutely do nothing.
Just breathe.
Just breathe. Even breathing should not be a task. Effortlessly. That's happening right now. Just effortless breathing, just doing nothing for 5 minutes will make sure that whenever they do, the next thing is again more consciously and more productive.
Wow.
So yeah.
My God, so much wisdom and
Yeah.
such simple steps, Aanchal. I'm so grateful for you to share this with our
Yes.
audience. We have a fun segment now coming up.
Okay.
Some rapid fire questions.
Hmm.
You can keep it not so rapid. I'll leave it to you.
Hmm.
All right. Ready?
Yeah.
First one. A pose that recenters you always.
Padmasan. The lotus pose.
Beautiful. A mantra for tough mornings.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Always works.
Always works. Siddha mantra hai wo ekdam. It's a holistic mantra. The best. Which I love this mantra.
Lovely. The posture you catch yourself in at your desk.
Sukhasan.
How is that?
The cross-legged posture.
Great. With the straight spine.
With the straight spine. I can't sit for a long time with my legs down. I tend to fold my legs. And whenever I eat, तो वो Sukhasan में ही होता है. And at my desk also, I'm working in Sukhasan.
Amazing. I think we all should pick up from
Yeah.
there. All right. Something you laugh about in a yoga studio.
Something I
Laugh on.
laugh on in a yoga studio. When I do something very easily and the students are struggling and like, ma'am, आपने ये कैसे किया है? So, I sometimes laugh and then I help them. But yeah, sometimes that is thing. And the other thing is when the students are sometimes doing wrong things, and I try and make it fun in the class, and everyone kind of laughs at themselves and each other, and I make it a very non-serious kind of environment so that there is no comparison and competition. Non-judgmental. Okay, so that's a very comfortable environment that I create.
Wow.
In which we are just...
I so want to be in your class now.
They're just smiling at something which is not going right, and what is good, what is wrong, right. And we just take it in a very
amazing,
good manner.
A ritual right before bed that you follow?
I do oiling in my feet and face.
Okay. Any
Yeah.
particular oil?
Actually nothing. So I have two oils. I basically do alternate. Either I use almond oil or coconut oil. So that's called Padabhyangam. So just simply massaging your feet before bedtime. It gives you a very good sleep like a baby.
Wow.
So simple practice of just massaging your feet. First I massage my face a little bit, then my feet. I read, then I doze off.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Any last thoughts that we missed on which you want to convey to our lovely audience from the corporate and the non-corporate world?
Yeah, I would just tell everyone that yoga is not just a form of exercise. Okay, so yoga is a science, it's a way of being, and it is simply to be at ease with yourself. And if I again tell everyone what is yoga in one line, yoga chitta vritti nirodha. It's simply controlling the monkey mind. That's it. And that is the most important. So I want everyone to bring yoga in their life in some way Either it could be a 5 minute pranayam, or it could be just sitting in Vajrasana after a heavy meal. Just sitting in Vajrasana or doing 5 minutes of breathing practice before sleeping. Or maybe if you feel tired, you do Yoga Nidra in the afternoon. You play Yoga Nidra. And in the morning, maybe you can just chant for 5 minutes a mantra of your Ishta Devta, whichever idol you like. So, yeah, incorporate yoga in your life, make it your lifestyle. It's not something like 1 hour you do it on the mat. It's a lifestyle which gives you a holistic sense of well being.
Amazing. So well said.
Yes.
And on that note, I really thank you, Aanchal, for enlightening us, the lovely audience, with your wisdom and experience, which is coming from a very authentic place. And I'm sure we'll all, take this inspiration from you as a
Absolutely.
practitioner.
Thank you so
And
much.
guys, whoever wants to get in touch with them, we are linking their handles. And I would strongly recommend you to get trained from these two lovely people
Yes.
as a teacher and as a practitioner.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. Everyone is welcome, and yoga has the power to transform your life completely. Like, it can do wonders. It is a sustainable practice. Even kids can do, even middle age or old age. It is a sustainable practice for everyone. And I just wish everyone transforms and everyone stays happy and healthy. Thank you so much.
Amen to that.
Yes.
Thank you. Grateful.
Thank you.